McGarry, Press of Atlantic City. Want to get his thoughts on a few subjects concerning high school sports. Good morning, Mike.
Hey, Sully, how are you this morning?
Pretty good, man. Thanks for taking a few minutes with us, as always.
No problem at all.
First off, wanted to get your thoughts on Bo Melton signing with Rutgers. We're going to have him on here in about half an hour or so. Great get for Rutgers, don't you think?
Yeah, tremendous get from Rutgers and new coach Chris Ash. A little bit of a surprise, the timing of it last night about 9 o'clock. Bo on his Twitter feed lets the world know where he's going, and I can honestly say the reaction of Rutgers fans to Bo's commitment is almost like Rutgers won a national championship. I don't think I've ever seen Rutgers fans so happy. But I guess the feeling is, Bo's a dynamic player, a player who's really a lot of fun to watch. And I think, this was a guy that Rutgers fans felt they had to get, and a guy that they hope can convince, other top New Jersey talent to stay in state and turn Rutgers into a national power.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, just a tremendous athlete. He did so much for that Cedar Creek team, and he's still got a year to go. Were you surprised at all that he picked Rutgers? I mean, obviously, some of the top programs in the nation were trying to get him to commit to their schools. But, obviously he had that connection with his mother and father, both being alum of Rutgers. So I'm sure that had a little bit to do with it.
Yeah, yes and no on that. Like you said, he had 26 scholarship offers, and there were more offers to come. And talking to Coach Tim Watson last night, he said his recruiting was just almost beginning to heat up. Coach Watson said that Alabama had contacted him and was preparing to get in on the recruiting. And Bo already had scholarship offers from Michigan, Ohio State, and Oregon. So you mentioned the connection. His father, Gary Melton, went to Rutgers. His mother, Vicki Green, she was Vicki Green when she went to Rutgers, helped Rutgers win an Atlantic 10 basketball championship. But Bo, he was pretty adamant last night in talking to him that this was his own decision. I'm sure his parents are overjoyed that he's going to the school that they went to, that he's going to a school that, that is close to them, that they can see him play, every game, drive to all the home games. But he was pretty adamant that this was his decision. And, I think what he did was really kind of buy into the new coaching staff up there. Chris Ash did a great job sort of recruiting him. And those Bo Knows Rutgers shirts that were hanging, in the Scarlet Fever clothing store up there certainly didn't hurt.
There you go. It's kind of amazing the lengths these schools will go to try to recruit these players.
Well, it is, and you see all schools, and especially now you kind of realize when you see on Twitter and you see alumni contacting these these kids on Twitter and trying to convince them to go to their school and stuff like that. So everybody's selling at the college football level.
Mike, wanted to get some quick thoughts on the Jason Groome situation, Barnegat pitcher. Obviously, everyone knows he's one of the top major league recruits. This past week, he was ruled ineligible for 30 days because of the transfer rule. What's your thoughts on the transfer rule? And I know it's been a sort of a point of contention for at least a couple of decades with the NJSIA.
Yeah, it's first of all, I'd just say it's an unfortunate situation what happened to Jason this week. There were no real winners. There were no winners this week. Not Jason, not his teammates, not the NJSIA, and not in high school baseball in New Jersey. There was going to be a great game. Well, there'll still be a game tonight. Barnegat will still play Red Bank Catholic, one of the state's top teams in Red Bank in the strikeout autism challenge. But, Jason was going to pitch against Red Bank Catholic tonight in Red Bank. It would have been major league scouts from all over the country were flying in. There would have been a ton of people there, would have raised money for charity. It would have been just a great event that you don't get too often in high school baseball. And now it's not going to happen. I think the transfer rule, like you said, it's been a bone of contention for, decades. And it's a bone of contention not only in New Jersey, it's a bone of contention in high school sports all over the country. And I think what people find frustrating is, did Jason technically violate the transfer rule by coming back to Barnegat and not having a bona fide change of residence because his parents didn't move with him to Florida? Yes. Did he violate the spirit of that rule? No. do multiple athletes every season go to extraordinary lengths to circumvent that rule and violate the spirit of the rule? And are they eligible right away? Yes, and I think that's what has people so frustrated.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it seems, I don't know, it kind of seems to me like the NJSI was kind of being like real sticklers when they could have maybe not been, I guess. It's hard to say. I mean, they kind of have to enforce the rule they have in place.
Right. I look at, people sort of, kind of attack the NJSAA or blame the NJSAA in this case. I don't think that's fair at all. I mean, the rule's the rules, so you just can't say we're going to apply it for athlete A and we're not going to apply it for athlete B.
Right.
What's the cutoff? We're going to not apply it for Jason Groome, but we are going to apply it for 250 hitters. I mean,
right.
you can't do it in that case. I mean, I think that New Jersey high schools, superintendents, athletic directors, and principals of the NJSA member schools have to get together and sort of look at this situation. The NJSA formed a non-public public committee, and that committee came up with several proposals to alter the transfer rule. And one of those proposals would have allowed athletes who transfer from a basically private school or a choice school back to their local public school district to be eligible right away. Well, New Jersey high schools voted down those proposals in December because they felt the sanctions given to some of the other athletes, some of the other transfers, private to private, public to private, were too harsh. So if New Jersey high schools had approved that proposals which came out of an NJSAA committee, Jason Groome would have been eligible. So, like I said, I think the NJSAA, I think the transfer rule has to look at it. Honestly, in being around high school sports forever, what only seems like forever, I wonder, why have the transfer rule? It's a rule that's not working because people are finding a way, either changing guardians, moving in with a relative, renting an apartment in town. They're finding easy ways to circumvent the rule. So if you have a rule that so many people are circumventing, almost why have the rule? Now, people will say, well, then you'll have a Wild Wild West situation where athletes can go to 3 to 4 high schools and things like that. Well, that's already happening out there. So I almost think that maybe you should have, during the school year, you should have that transfer rule, maybe even toughen it up, maybe make you sit 45 days if you transfer without a bona fide move during the school year. But during the summer, you can go anywhere you want. So if you're in a school, enrolled in a school by September 1st, you're eligible right away.
Mike, let's talk a little bit of high school baseball on the field. Millville really coming on strong and kind of making things very interesting in the Cape Atlantic League's American Conference. And what a conference that is. I mean, Ocean City, you got Shaw Mooney pitching no-hitters seemingly every time he goes out to the mound. And, Mainland's always one of those top teams. The Prep, really just from top to bottom, that's such a great conference.
Well, and again, I think we talked last week, that's a conference where anybody can beat anybody on any day. You saw it yesterday where Millville comes back and beats St. Augustine. Mainland had a great week this week with a couple of big wins. Holy Spirit, a quality team. Like you said, Ocean City, they've got Millville on Friday. I think Millville and Violent are playing up at the Grand Slam Classic up at Washington Township this weekend, so there'll be a great test up there. Nobody has kind of emerged in that division yet. In either conference, either in the National or the American Conference, no Cape Atlantic League baseball team has kind of emerged early in the season and sort of taken their conference, taking charge of their conference. So, and in the back of your mind, those bids for the Diamond Classic are only a couple of weeks away. So, one of these teams has to emerge because, the Cape Atlantic League American and the Cape National gets automatic invites. And I think the Cape National is pretty interesting because you have some teams like Cape May Tech, is 4-1. Middle Township, Dave Salvo with a great outing this week. They beat Lower Cape May. St. Joe is still in there. You have some non-traditional baseball powers having some pretty good seasons down there in the Cape Atlantic League National Conference.
Yeah, that Diamond Classic is going to be pretty intense this year. There's some great teams out in the Cherry Hill area, out in West Jersey. I mean, teams like Williamstown and Lenape, all those teams out that way. It's going to make for a pretty incredible Diamond Classic this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, the American Conference gets an automatic invite. The National Conference gets an automatic invite. And then there are a couple of at-large bids. And the Cape Atlantic League usually gets at least one, sometimes two at-large bids. And that American Conference, you have a lot of teams right now. A very good baseball team in that American Conference is probably not going to make the Diamond Classic because that conference is so tough on a day-in and day-out basis.
Mike, before we let you go, what should we be looking for this weekend and coming up next week?
Well, you got a busy week this weekend. You've got obviously the Woodbury Relays, one of the South Jersey sort of premier relay event. Just about every boys and girls team is over there at Woodbury today, trying to get those Woodbury watches that they give the first place teams. You've got Millville and Violin up at the Grand Slam Classic up at Washington Township. Some of South Jersey's top baseball teams involved in that event. And then you talk about that Cape Atlantic League American Conference towards the end of the week. You got a Millville Ocean City matchup looming on Friday. So going into spring sports season, you've got a big event every day, and then every day that passes in April and every game that Barnegat plays, we get closer to getting Jason Groome back on the baseball field, which will be getting him eligible again. And that would be great for Barnegat and great for high school baseball in the state of New Jersey.
Sounds like you're going to be begging Melhorn for some extra space the next few weeks.
Yeah, all the space we can get. A great time of year. Great local kids doing great things, and there's nothing better than that.
Good stuff, Mike. We appreciate you hopping on board, and great job as always.
All right, absolutely, Sully. No problem. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. Have a good weekend.
See you later.
That was Mike McGarry, Press of Atlantic City.